The Prime Minister of the UK, Keir Starmer, is under fire today after he orchestrated Islamic worship in the halls of British Parliament. This isn't the first time Starmer has bent the knee to the Muslim community in Parliament.
You see Muslims making a difference, helping deliver every single one of the government's missions. In business, helping to grow our economy. In education, giving our young people the opportunities that they deserve. In our NHS, of course. In charity work. British Muslims are amongst the most generous group in the United Kingdom and beyond. So I must say thank you to you for all of that, and particularly what I know has been a very difficult time for Muslims here in the United Kingdom, with the pain of the conflict in Gaza and the suffering of the Palestinians. I've been profoundly moved by the images of thousands of Palestinians returning to their communities.
And he even released political propaganda on the subject.
Today I'm here at London Central Mosque, and I'd like to send my warmest wishes, devotion and renewed strength. It's a time to celebrate the strong sense of community as people gather together in mosques and community spaces to share iftar meals with their neighbours. With my leadership, a future Labour government will stand up for the rights of Muslims and work to ensure Muslim communities feel safe, secure and respected.
Online commentators blasted Starmer's move, saying, "This is Britain, not Qatar." Islamists are cheering worldwide as the British government hands Islam special privileges, turning the UK Parliament into a mosque and forcing all attendees to take part in Islamic worship. A Muslim preacher was invited to pray to Allah inside the very halls of British democracy, supposedly to make Muslims, especially migrants, feel more included. But let's be real, this is all meant to please Labour's Muslim voters. This happened while Hamas supporters flood UK streets, marching in the hundreds of thousands, pushing their agenda, normalising support for jihad and terrorism against Israel and Jewish people. Britain, wake up. Your government is bending over backwards for those who openly side with terrorists while silencing anyone who dares to resist. Starmer's elevation of Islam comes as ordinary UK citizens are struggling to live harmoniously with the steep rise of Islam in their schools and neighbourhoods. Christianity is also being attacked, with historic churches being converted into mosques.
You'll be excused to think that this is a church, but as is the case across the UK, we've took it over. It's now actually a mosque, a masjid. Christianity is depleting, atheism is unfulfilling, Islam is here and is here to stay.
Former Reform UK candidate Mayuran Senthilnathan blasted the current administration, saying Keir Starmer has sidelined Christianity in favour of Islam.
Yeah, well, good to be with you. But you brought up King Charles, and it's interesting. It highlights a really important thing that's going on between Islam and Christianity. The monarch is traditionally the defender of the faith, and that faith is Christianity. Yeah. But King Charles kind of evolved that statement, that term, to defenders of the faiths, plural, meaning all faiths. But I think he doesn't really understand the theology. I mean, Islam believes that Christ is merely a prophet and not a divine incarnation. And to think of Christ as a divine incarnation, which is the centerpiece of Christianity, is blasphemy. And unless you're a liberal Muslim, quite an open-minded Muslim, for most Muslims, it's a blasphemy. So I don't think King Charles understands the theological confrontation and conflict between Christianity and Islam. And I think what's happened is Islam and Christianity, religion in general, has been racialized. And what I mean by that is Islam is seen by the liberal elite in particular as being the religion of brown people. And Christianity, in return, is seen as the religion of white people. Now, we all know that the left doesn't really have principles. What they have is a hierarchy of minorities. And at the top of that hierarchy is the brown man. And so therefore, Islam, what we're seeing is Islam being getting special privileges and Christianity effectively being sidelined. And that's what we saw with King Charles.
But despite the uproar from the Christian and secularist communities in the UK, Reform UK leader Nigel Farage says no political party can win without an Islam-focused campaign platform.
But the nub of it is, we have a Muslim population in Britain growing by about 75% every 10 years, right? That's just where we are. If we politically alienate the whole of Islam, we will lose. We'll lose.
So how does one include
We
them?
will lose. By 2050, goodness knows what kind of a terrible state we're going to be in.
And commentator Douglas Murray has gone a step further, slamming UK lawmakers' attempt to define Islamophobia, which is yet another attempt to marginalise the non-Muslim community in the UK.
Well, I think it's pretty outrageous for lots of reasons. I mean, one of them is that British Muslims have the same protection as any other citizen in the United Kingdom. You're not allowed to harass or, attack places of worship or buildings or anything else. And those laws exist for everybody of any faith and none. And the problem about this attempt by the Labour government, with a really disastrous former Conservative MP leading it, to set up this commission that's going to try to identify so-called Islamophobia is among other things, it's simply not going to work. Nobody's ever been able to satisfactorily define Islamophobia because it's almost impossible. In fact, it is impossible to draw a line between, among other things, to allow it to remain legal to say anything critical of the religion of Islam or anything that seems to offend any large Muslim group or indeed any individual Muslim. I mean, when people in the UK, as in other Western countries, start talking about Islamophobia laws, among other things, I really want them to answer the question of why it is they are so obsessed with this non-issue of defining an absolutely indefinable term, and why they don't spend more time, for instance, instead of talking about this fake phobia, talking about, I don't know, the school teacher in Batley in the north of England who remains in hiding several years after he was accused of blasphemy by local Muslim leaders in the north of England for talking about cartoons of Islam's founder, Muhammad. I mean, I wouldn't mind if the government was looking into Batley Grammar School phobia for its teachers, or the many other things. Like, I mean, how about the